Hey, it's Armand.
And Sandra, and welcome to All About Now Photography.
Today, we're going to talk about graduations. Sandra has some amazing questions lined up. I'm going to try answering them, and hopefully they help you with your next ceremony.
Okay, so we just went to Dallas.
Yeah, it was a fun time.
It was a fun time. So why did we do Dallas this time?
Well, Dallas is a great market to be in. We were lucky enough to be able to secure that contract down in Dallas. When it comes to graduations, traveling is always good because you can reach out to clients that you haven't been able to in your home market. It helps you brand yourself a little bit wider. It casts a bigger net. So it's always good to not just focus in the areas you're in, especially when it comes to graduations. There's not as many graduation ceremonies you could do here, but going outside of your market area, you might find something that will still be worth doing and traveling.
Yeah, I agree. So why do we do graduations?
Well, graduations are very profitable because it's maybe a 2-hour event total with setup and breakdown. You're looking at 4 hours of payroll. But it's literally just a portrait station. If you think about it, they're coming in, they're taking a picture, they're going to their seats. There's nothing too hard about it. So it's just a good way to take a lot of pictures for a lot of different people and market them out and get a good return on your investment.
Okay, so you think like every photographer should do graduations?
If you're in the volume business and you're not doing photography, you're missing out on a lot of money. Photography, if you can do sports and volume photography in the sports market, you can do it in the graduation market, and you should definitely look into doing it. It's so much easier than wrangling kids and getting them to do 4 different poses standing in front of your camera. At graduations, they are required to be there. They're walking across that ceremony. They're required to pose with the principal. They're required to pose at a portrait station, and they go to their seats. It takes 2 hours. You're not there. You're not burning up in the heat unless your ceremony's outside. I feel sorry for you if it is. But it's still a fun time, and it's a great way to capture and bring in some more revenue, especially towards the end of the fall or spring season, depending on if you're doing December or May grads.
Okay, but let's say I've never done graduations.
Yeah.
How do I get the clients?
Well, if you've never done graduations, the best thing you can do is just find out a school that's near you and reach out to them. Cold emails work. People don't think they do, but they do. You just have to figure out who the grad coordinator is and reach out to them, especially if you're already doing sports photography, right? Like, say we do sports photography for school A. Well, then reach out to school A's graduation coordinator and be like, hey, we do your sports portraits. Parents love our product. We can do graduations. Our pricing is going to be about the same.
Yeah.
You know our quality of work. You know the people that we are. Trust us to do it. And it's sometimes as simple as that.
Yeah. So after that, what's the first step?
So after you've talked to a client, you've reached out to them, they said yes. The next thing you really should do is get contact information, not just of the graduation. Obviously, you need to know what time the graduation is going to be at. You need to know who's running it. You need to know the flow of the ceremony, if they're coming from stage right to left, or if they're coming from both sides and going down the middle, if it's a double line. Get the flow, get the contact information, but then figure out how the school is going to help you get contact information for the students. Some states have different laws, what the schools can give you. Sometimes you have to be able to collect it yourself as a photographer. Sometimes the school can give you all the information. So the first step is to get that contact information so that you have a reason to take pictures. Because I could take 100 pictures of you, but if I don't know who you are, I can't sell it to you and you'll never see them. You'll never buy them, right? So for an example, at Lake Dallas, they sent us an Excel sheet with the student's name, parents' email, student's email, and cell phone numbers. So we had really good contact information there.
Yeah, I've seen that we do QR codes. Sometimes we do emails.
Yeah, it depends on the ceremony. We did a different grad ceremony a week before where the school just gave us their names. So we printed out what we call reader cards. And this is a great way to get contact information. The school needed a way to call the students up because they don't go up in any certain order. So we printed cards with their names on them. The school passed them out. This card also had a QR code on it that was unique to that card. When students got the cards, they scanned it, filled out the information, uploaded a picture of themselves. Now we have their parents' information. We have their information. We know what they look like.
Yeah.
When they go across the stage, the school got to use them because they collected those cards in order. So our backup plan is to keep those cards in order. But the school collects those cards, reads the name on it so that the student's name is read in the right order as they're walking across the stage, flips it down, and the student goes across the stage. So we have a lot of ways to collect this information. And if you're just starting out and you need tips or tricks or ideas on how to collect this information, let us know and we can help you figure that out.
Yeah, because I think it's one of the most important parts of it, right?
Right. No point taking a picture if you
Yeah.
can't sell a picture, right? Unless you're doing it for fun.
Mhm.
But most of us are here to make money.
Yeah. And what's the process before graduation?
So once you have the contact information, you know what the setup's going to look like. You know the flow. So now you need to prep for it. So, for example, at Lake Dallas, we were going to do 3 different photo stations for them. We're going to do the handshake shot. Then we prep for the TKO shot. And then we also added a 3rd shot, which is new for them this year. So we prep for that. We train our photographers. We have them come in 2 or 3 times to the office, and we train them on how to shoot every single station. Then we train them on the setup and what to look for if something doesn't work and how to fix it. After that, we also prep the gear. We make sure that we have enough cameras, enough lights, enough batteries, charge everything, test everything to make sure everything works properly. Because we do have graduation gear that is only being used once or twice a year during graduations. So we need to make sure that everything still works and just get it all right. And you were a big part of that.
Yeah. Would you say that process is stressful?
You tell me. You got to be part of it. Was it stressful?
A little bit. I think it depends on the person.
Yeah. So it is pretty stressful just because it is a big time for these students. Think about it like a wedding.
Yeah.
If you're a wedding photographer, you know how stressful it could be to make sure you get the perfect shot, that all your gear works. Same kind of scenario. Making sure everything works, that you get the perfect shot is very important, which is why we always have a main and a backup. So that helps relieve some of that stress that if something doesn't work, you pick up the next camera and you keep going.
Okay, so we talk about the prep before graduation season, but what do you do before graduation? What's the first step?
So before graduation, we reach out to a contact, make sure everything still is a go. We keep in constant touch with them. If anything changes, like if say we were doing an outdoor graduation, we want to make sure that we are keeping track of the weather, figure out what their weather plan is. If it's an indoor ceremony, most of the time the weather won't affect it, so we're good there. But we constantly stay in touch with these contacts to make sure that we're all on the same page in case anything changes.
So you said you talk about the setups with the client beforehand, right?
Yes.
So what were the setups in this graduation?
So for this graduation, we did a handshake shot, which is where the students get their diploma and they shake hands with either the principal, a board member, someone important at the school. Right after that, we did a portrait station. We call this a TKO station, stands for total knockout. And then right after that, we added a new setup for them this year, which is what we call a 3rd shot because it's just a 3rd extra picture of them. And this was a horizontal picture after they did their TKO shot to show the student body behind them, give a nice blur, and just give them something a little bit more dramatic.
So I'm glad that we did that because even though it's like something completely different, it was one of the favorite ones.
Yeah. So what we've learned so far is doing something different pays off. We've had more sales on that 3rd shot that we did than any of the other 2 stations.
So let's go back to the handshake. Yeah. How does that look like?
For the handshake setup, we are typically doing that about 6 feet away from where the presenter is getting their diploma. We will take 2 cameras with us with a flip bracket and a flash. That way we don't have light stands and umbrellas and stuff right in front of the ceremony. Our light's just attached to our camera. And we take just a picture of them as they walk across the stage. The reason we take 2 cameras is one's our backup, one's our primary. In case something happens to that primary camera, we just pick the other one up and keep shooting. We don't try to fix anything because we don't have time for that. Like Dallas, where they were calling names
That's very helpful to have that.
Yeah.
Backup camera. Yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
Okay, so we do handshake setup. What's the next one?
So right after we're done with the handshake setup, our other photographer should be almost done setting up the TKO portrait station. So we go and help them test the portrait station. for the portrait station, we're typically using a white screen. That way we don't get any green spill on the subject
Okay.
or any blue spill. And then in this case at Lake Dallas, they were wearing green. So you definitely don't want to do green on a green screen. So we typically do white. It's a lot easier to knock out. It looks prettier whenever it's up that close to the stage from an audience point of view. And then we're using a Westcott FJ400 with an umbrella and a diffusion to give us nice soft lighting on the subject. So we'll go in and we'll test that, make sure everything looks good. For the setup, we're about 6 feet from the subject, and the subject's about a foot from the backdrop. We take one quick picture of them holding their diploma like this, and they go on to the next station.
Okay, so what's the next station?
The next station in this case is our third shot station. We don't do this at every ceremony, but every ceremony we've done this at this year has definitely helped our sales. But with this shot, we are doing a horizontal picture of the graduate. We try to have the student body right behind them, nice and blurred, so we're using a 2.8 lens. And we just get a nice horizontal picture of them with their whole student body behind them. It looks really beautiful.
Yeah, that was my favorite setup.
And apparently it's been the favorite of the parents too. That shot so far has sold 3-1 compared to our handshake and our TKO. And in the previous years, we've learned that handshake and TKO are the minimum pictures that you should do at a graduation because they're your best sellers. So the fact that this shot is outselling both of those is very impressive so far.
Yeah. And you have something new. Right?
Yes. And we bought in, with our third shot, we bought in our sports style to that. We added dramatic lighting to the setup. Instead of doing just a simple single light flat look, we added a hair light. We added a FJ400 right next to the photographer up high, pointing down at them at an angle with no diffusion on it to give them that harsh lighting and bring out some of that drama. And it looks amazing. And we'll show you an example of that right now.
So everything sounds amazing, really fun. But what are the challenges?
So the biggest challenges, let's start with handshake first. Some of our schools that we do handshake shots at, the presenter won't stop the students. It's a walk pace because they have hundreds of students and they have a certain timeline that they need to be done by. So for that one, we have to take pictures right when they shake their hands like this and grab that diploma. The president will continue to look this way, but the student will look this way, so our photographer will stand at an angle. At that point, we don't care about the principal's face. We care about the student's face. So we'll stand at an angle, take that picture as they're walking, and continue going. Because we don't want to change what the school has done and planned for already, especially if it's our first time doing the ceremony. After we've done it once or twice a year and they get comfortable with us, then we might start suggesting, hey, we can get a better picture if you stop them for literally half a second. Just look at us along with the student. It doesn't add that much more time to your ceremony. And we train our photographers to shoot at the pace of this graduation. So if they're calling a name every 4 seconds, we're taking a picture every 2.5 seconds so we can stay up with them.
Do you have any challenges with TKO and the other setup?
So you can have other challenges with the TKO setup or the third shot, but normally you don't have as many issues on that one because you're not on stage. So you have a little bit more control as the photographer compared to on stage. The school has final say of everything that's going to happen. On the portrait station, as long as your camera and your lights work, you should be able to get a pretty good shot. The biggest challenge is making sure that the line doesn't back up onto stage if your portrait station is right next to where they get off the stage, or making sure that the students make their way to the portrait station. If it's a little bit further, you might need an assistant or someone from the school helping guide the students to where we have the portrait station set up.
Especially because they're not focusing on the photos, really. They're focusing on the graduation itself, right?
It's their big day. They just accomplished something that not a lot of students might accomplish.
Yeah, they're looking at their family, their friends, and sometimes they don't look at you, right?
Right. And you always want to be respectful for them. Even if they don't stop, you want to call out to them nicely and be like, hey, come over here, let me take your picture real fast, then go enjoy the rest of the ceremony. Right. But yeah, that is definitely another challenge is these students don't always pay attention. So be prepared to talk to them or be prepared for a staff from the school or even your own assistant helping guide the students.
So I guess those are like the main challenges, right?
Yeah, I
Usually.
mean, other than that, the only other challenge is making sure that the students are registered and you have their contact info.
So the grad's over.
Yep.
What's next?
So the next part is where you come in. You get to edit all these pictures.
Yeah, I know.
Luckily, when we're at a graduation, we do our absolute best to shoot to sell, is what we call it, which means we're not going to try to go in and edit all the pictures. The only time we go and edit the pictures is if someone blinks, a flash doesn't go off. For example, on this one, someone didn't stop at the third shot. So we took their TKO picture and you edited them in to the third shot's picture, right? That way they have that picture as well. But most of the time, it's just basic editing. We're not trying to fix glass glare. We're not trying to fix diploma glare, anything like that. We just want to make sure the pictures look good.
Yeah, like Lake Dallas, we had over 300 students. We cannot edit 3 stations or more for 300 students, right?
Right. At least we can edit them fast. And that's our goal, right?
Exactly. So talking about that, how fast do we deliver the pictures?
So our goal is to deliver pictures within an hour and a half of the ceremony ending, if not earlier. The reason for this is because the faster you get them their pictures, the more sales you're going to have. After graduation's over, I don't know about you, but once my graduation's over, I went with my family to have dinner at a nice restaurant. And I had my mom, my dad, but I also had my external family there, right? So the fact that if they get their pictures while they're having dinner with all of their family members, they're probably going to place a bigger order because they're like, oh, grandma's here. She's going to want a picture. My uncle's here. He wants this picture. My aunt's here. She wants a button. My cousin wants a magnet, stuff like that. So they're probably going to end up placing a bigger order if they're still with their family. And the excitement is still there. It's still the day of graduation. They're willing to let their wallets go and give us all their money in a way and place those orders. So we try to get those pictures out fast. You don't want to wait a week. You don't want to wait 2 weeks. That excitement starts to die down. They're already in the real world. They're on vacation. They're enjoying getting ready for college if that's what they're going to do, or going into the workforce or the military, the army, whatever it may be. So the faster you get them the pictures, the better it is, especially on a big day like this.
So tell us a little bit more about the marketing part or the pricing part of it.
Yeah, so pricing and marketing is a little bit different when it comes to sport. With graduations, we charge a little bit more just because it's a much bigger day and a bigger celebration. You only get to do this once in your lifetime as a high school student. So compared to sports, where we're taking their pictures 4 times in a high school career, right? So we charge a little bit more for that. But the pricing, it differs from where you're located. For Oklahoma, we were lucky enough that Texas is not that far away. Like when we went to like Dallas, that we kept our same pricing. But if we were to go to California, we might charge a little bit more. It's all up to you as a photographer on how much profit and money you think you can make. So do your own research is what I would say. Don't go based off what we're doing because it works for our market where we're located. If you're located in California, you might not make as much as we'd make with ours, just because you have to pay more on labor. You might have to pay more for shipping because the lab's not located near you. Stuff like that. So do your own research is all I would say for that.
So now that we went over all of this, do you have any tips and tricks you want to share?
Yeah. Get lots of rest. Rest is very important. I know that there were days where we worked 18 hours continuously, got 4 hours of sleep, and went right back to working 18 hours. That's the reality of grad season, especially when you're doing lots of graduations. So plan your rest out, make sure that you get well rested. And if you're not, take a vacation right after grad season's over. Like, we're all taking next week off, right? Because we need it.
It looks so easy. I don't know why it feels like graduation is such an easy thing to do, but it's not. It's very different from what you expect, I think.
Right.
So have to be prepared.
Yeah. As like a photographer, like one of our photographers, they definitely would think it's easy because all they have to do is show up for 4 hours, take pictures, and leave. But on the back end, if you're the owner or you're one of the people that work in the office, you have a lot more to do. You're editing, you're marketing, you're emailing out, you're making sure your offers are set up, you're making sure your gear works, you're working on the logistics of, hey, we have 2 graduations this day. What gear can go here? What gear can go here? So a lot goes into making that successful. especially when we're taking a main and a backup for every station and we only have 6 cameras. So how do we make that work?
Yes. So for someone who's just starting, it's probably just one person or two.
Yeah.
What would you recommend in that case? Because
Yeah.
they don't have like a whole team.
Right, and that is totally okay. Graduation can be done with one person. I would recommend 2. That way you can have your money shots, which is your handshake photos, and your widescreen or TKO or portrait, whatever you would want to call it. As long as you're doing those 2 pictures at a graduation, you're gonna make money. I can guarantee that. So if you only are a 1 or 2 person crew, that is totally okay. Maybe don't book graduations on the same day, so that you can spread out your resources and be able to do a lot more graduations. And if you have a bigger team, go after everything you can go after.
So those were all my questions, but I know there's like a very important part of it, and it's the group picture.
Yeah. So when it comes to graduation's not the only thing that we do. When we went to Dallas, for example, the day before we went to their rehearsal and we did a group photo for them. And we're going to talk a lot more about group photos, the process, how to shoot them, why we do them, and all of that in our very next video. So stay tuned for that. But if you guys have any more questions, comments, concerns, anything that Sandra may not have asked me, please leave a comment down below. We'll be more than happy to answer it. And then follow us on Instagram to keep up with all of our latest works and see some of these pictures from our graduation ceremonies. Until our next video, have a great day.
Bye.